welcome back to Shoogly Shed Motors. We're going to start putting the engine back together. Very exciting. I picked up all the cerakoting parts that I got done by Graham at Steelworks Motorcycles. All the parts got vapor blasted and then cerakoted in Glacier Black, I think the colour is. Here is the upper crankcase half for your delight. Looking pretty smart, I think. It's a great finish that Graham's managed to achieve in the cerakoting, so thanks so much for that, mate. I know you spent a lot of time getting it just right, so I really appreciate that. What I'm going to do with this engine build, I don't have a heck of a lot of time just to sit down and put the entire engine together at once, so I'm just going to film as I put bits and pieces together if and when I get the time to do so, and then I'll just edit it into a bit of a kind of mashup, time-lapse sort of style video as all the parts go back together, and hopefully, you know, that it's not really a how-to on how to build this engine, it's just for your visual pleasure to see it going back together. So hopefully you understand where I'm coming from. Time constraints and things like that, you know, are very real, and therefore I just jump out to the shed when I can and get work done on this engine when I can. So with that said, I'm going to try and get some of the parts back in today, and then we'll just see where we go from there. Right, so the bottom half is back together now. Just got to stick the clutch, oil pump and selector mechanism into there, and then we can start putting the top together. Looking good so far. Really like the stainless bolts. Went the extra mile and got full stainless bolts for this. Makes a big difference, I think, especially with the black Cerakote. So yeah, let's continue. I actually hate that bit of an engine build. That took a long time. I even had Mrs. Shoogly out giving me a hand to line up the piston rings as the barrel went down. Oh, I'm glad to have that bit out of the way. Cylinder head on next. Right, the only thing I haven't done is the valve clearances. I've still to do them, which is why I've not put the gasket on the top one yet. However, apart from like the alternators to go on in the starter motor, that is the engine, you know, more or less completely rebuilt. Safe to say I'm dead chuffed with that. I think it looks absolutely cracking. That's the second full engine rebuild I've done. I've rebuilt top ends and replaced clutches and things like that, but that's the second time that I've completely stripped an engine down to its casings and rebuilt it. Yes, there are a few things that I'm sure raised some eyebrows. For example, I didn't replace any of the plain bearings. Two reasons. One, they looked totally fine, no scoring or excessive wear. They looked actually in really good condition for plain bearings. And secondly, they're about £30 a set, and there's like what, 5 sets on the crankshaft and then 4 sets on the conrods. So you know, if I was going to pile, you know, unlimited money into this, then I probably could have just replaced them. But to be honest, I think they still have plenty of miles left in them, and I don't really have any issues with reusing them. Just personal preference. I'm sure someone out there will tell me I'm wrong, but if that's what you're thinking, don't bother. I'm not interested. I'm not stripping the engine down again to replace them just because someone in a YouTube comment section told me to. Obviously, a couple other things here and there that I'm sure some people might have done differently, but again, I'm not really interested. I've built the engine, you know, following the Haynes manual, which is a pretty comprehensive guide for rebuilding engines and just the whole bike in general. But you know, I've got a little bit of experience now rebuilding engines, and I'm comfortable with what I've done to this one. It will have many more miles left in it. Absolutely. These engines, it's worth pointing out, these engines have very big tolerances because they're air-cooled, you know, 1300cc engine. The tolerances are pretty massive because the engine's going to get relatively hot compared to an engine that's, for example, liquid cooled. That means that obviously the engine will expand the tolerances for bearings and things like that, and shafts will all be quite large in order to account for them expanding, and that expansion when the engine's hot. It's one of these things that you would lose a little bit of performance through that, which is why an engine that's liquid cooled would potentially have better performance because it has tighter tolerances. But again, that's kind of another reason why I wasn't too worried about, you know, replacing bearings that looked perfectly fine to me, because like I say, the tolerances in this engine are pretty massive. When you look at some of the tolerances listed in the Haynes manual, they're huge. I mean, we're still talking, you know, 0.01 millimeter that kind of scope, but for as far as engines go, that's pretty big tolerances. So I hope you enjoyed watching that. I hope you understand why I did it just in random wee bits. That's more or less a week that's taken me to rebuild it, from getting the casings back. So I just wanted to crack on with it when I could and not worry too much about explaining different parts of the process. there are videos out there of XJR1300 engines being rebuilt, and you know, manuals are really a godsend when it comes to, you know, how-tos if you're actually wanting to rebuild your engine. Like I said at the start, this isn't a how-to, it was just, you know, you get to witness the process of it all going back together. So, thank you for sticking in there. It's been a long episode, I'm sure, just because of the amount of footage and the amount of things that have obviously got to do when you rebuild an engine. But hey, you know, we got there in the end. Some of its parts looks pretty good to me, and I can't wait to get on with getting the frame powder coated, get the engine into the frame, you know, forks sorted, wheels back on, start to see this bike come back together. Not sure when all that's going to happen. Again, sort of budgetary constraints sort of come into play a little bit there. So yeah, I will try and update as soon as I can, and I'll have little jobs to do in between times as well, with things like you know, painting and polishing and scrubbing various different parts from the bike that need attention. Yeah, but if the rest of the bike comes out as well as this engine, then I will be over the moon. As usual, please do give me a like, leave me a comment, and make sure you subscribe to the Shoogly Shed channel. I will see you next time, hopefully. Take care, and goodbye.